Senator Roberts.
Thank you, Mr. President. I think we need senatorial reform, that when my colleagues on the other side are unprepared to debate, that the time should be given to those of us who require more time to present arguments that are meaningful to the population. Mr. President, well, I am flabbergasted. I had to take off my glasses because I'm in shock. I came here and I listened to the Honorable Minister of Finance debate why he's just asking for an increase in the limit, 10 billion extra loan capacity, debt burden up to 75 billion, but he can't appropriate it because the appropriation has already been made in the budget, and he's not coming here to ask for money to go and spend it. And it is only 500 million, so in order to be able to be comfortable in making decisions, he needs to increase this limit by $10 billion. But the Minister of Works and Transport just spent out all already. So he didn't debate he didn't discuss with the minister that they're not to spend it, that it can't be appropriated, that it could go on for years. The minister now spent out the 10 billion right here in his contribution. So next time I would say to my colleague, consult with your minister before you open your mouth, because the story jump out. Because all the independent senators, everybody confused now. Because the Minister of Finance said, this cannot be appropriated. It cannot be spent. We're not coming here to borrow 10 billion. That any government coming in the next few years will have the capacity to borrow to do. The Minister of Works spent out on highway, drainage, implementation, airport, port. He spent out all already. So that was a little bit shocking for me. But I just want to tell the citizens that they're paying attention, TV, radio, and so on. All them potholes you go in and bust your tire in your rim, all them bad road, all them things you nearly fall off road, fall off cliff, all them bridges that fall down, all you rarely seeing that, because the Minister of Works and Transport say everything outside is nice. So I just want to let them know that all is good. So what they're seeing, what they're feeling, and what they're paying for when they bust their tire and they rim dent, that is not true according to the PNM. And my Honorable Minister of Works and Transport, he said, there are no national drainage plan, and so never mind they call us the box drain government. That he implement, they had plan after plan and after plan, and 8 years, he boasts that he came in September 2015, congratulations. But since he did, first of all, a little heavy rainfall, 42 minutes, you get flood. Now we down to 18 minutes rainfall and Goodwood Park and all flood. Rich people scampering down so. So I'm not sure what he implement. Because when I go fishing in the Diego Martin River looking for snook, when I put on my rod there, is a foot and a half, silt all up to the top, right there, where nothing could flow out, but he implements. So I want to know where the money gone. But he also spoke about the infrastructure. That at least he admitted it after 8 years under his watch, the infrastructure is in a deplorable state. But I wonder if he speaks to the Minister of Public Utilities, because clearly he did not speak to the Minister of Finance before debating and selling out the whole story, that they really come to raise the limit to spend out money. And he talked about election 4 or 5 times, and we know if it's one thing this minister knows about is election in Grandy, right? We could deal with that at another time. But I wonder if he talked to the Minister of Public Utilities. Because since 2017, 4 billion gallons of water per month is wasting under our infrastructure through leakage, from 4,200 leaks, and at the latest count, 2,400 leaks. And that water is decimating our infrastructure. So if we could have a word with the Minister of Public Utilities to fix them leaks, then maybe our roads will improve and he will not need to go into the loan money that our children have to pay back already to fix the roads he's talking about. I am glad that the Minister of Works is not my friend. Because, boy, I'm glad. Because I want my friend to be able to defend me to the hilt with facts, with figures, with information. He tried to defend the Minister of Energy, who is the biggest and most incompetent minister in the history of energy. The energy sector decimated. And his defense was not a defense with a big stick. It was more of a defense with a small pin. He could not say what the energy plan is. The man, Mr. Ron Harford, spoke. He said, I am a businessman. I don't see the energy plan. Do you know what is the energy plan? of the Honorable Minister of Energy? He said, look at it on Reuters, look on Bloomberg. They're talking about, I'm having conversations, I'm over in Venezuela talking, and I'm conversing and I'm speaking. That's a plan? When is the last time talking make money except if you're on a TV show or a radio show? There is no plan. Furthermore, that Minister of Energy, who the Honorable Prime Minister boasted of in 2017, negotiated, according to the Minister of Works and Transport, negotiated gas price in Houston, completed negotiations. Mr. Jerry Brooks, who was the then chairman, had to run and resign because that Minister of Energy, the member for Port of Spain, St. Anne's, went and usurped the authority of those with brain, negotiated a poor deal, and the upstreamers like EOG and BP announced 67% increase in their profitability in a zero-sum game. If they go up, somebody go down. And unfortunately, you know who had to go down? Us, the people of Trinidad and Tobago, because we sent people like the Minister of Energy now, who was not the Minister of Energy then. They left the Minister of Energy, the Honorable Franklin Can, home, took that fellow to negotiate, and we make 67% less, and they make 67% more. And the PNM is celebrating that. The shareholders of the upstreamers should be celebrating that. A year and a half after the negotiations, NGC make a loss for the first time in history. Under Kamla Prasad Bisasa and Kevin Ramnarine, the NGC was making 2.1 billion US profit. They made a loss in 2019 and 2020 after the negotiation that the Minister of Works is trying to defend the Minister of Energy. And let me tell you something. It really is cowardice of the highest order to come in this parliament where it's privileged. You see me? I could debate here, but I could also go outside and say what I have to say, especially if we're in a banter and a political battle in the Gael. But when there's a citizen out there, a gentleman who does not get involved in politics, I know the gentleman, but I know of his, I've seen over the years pictures in the paper, big thing, business, awards and so on. When a gentleman simply says, listen, it's our taxpayer money, the government must be accountable. And we are energy, gas sector economy. Show us a plan, show us something. We're just seeing the Ryder Scott report, the horizon going down. We're seeing Point Lisa's capacity down from 74% to 28%, 11 companies shutting down, no steel plant, no refinery. Please show us some sort of plan. The man is attacked in the parliament with the cowardly member using his privilege to attack a citizen out there. That is so cowardly. That is the kind of thing a bully would do. But let me tell you.
Just careful with the adjectives being used to describe another member. Just temper the...
Okay, sir. Thank you. But it's cowardly, to say the least. So Mr. Harford obviously does not need defending. But his comment was fair comment. Where's the energy plan? Trinidad and Tobago has been involved in oil and gas since 1908. We are now at our lowest ebb. Our oil production per day has gone down to 38,000 barrels. It's now at 48,000 barrels per day. The Honorable Minister of Energy downstairs told what can only be considered untruths, that under Kamla Prasad Bisasa and the People's Partnership government, that the oil production per day went down from 98,000 to 78,000 barrels. It was the reverse. When we came in May 2010, it was 78,000 barrels. Kevin Ramnarine got it up to 98,000 barrels. By the time the PNM came in September 2015, by 2017, due to lack of payment, lack of maintenance, lack of investment, the oil production went down to below 45,000 barrels per day. Then the consequential shutdown of Petrotrin without any advice. The dishonesty that came to say that the board told them to shut it down when the chairman of the board went in the labor court and swore on the Bible that he never told the cabinet to shut it down. The McKinsey report, the Lashley report, the Solomon report never said shut it down. It's been shut down 5 years now, and Trinidad and Tobago, for the first time in 117 years, is not a producer, is not a leader. We have ministers of finance here boasting that our credit rating is higher than St. Vincent and Antigua and Barbados and Bahamas, who have sun, sea, and sand only. Well, I would be ashamed if God blessed me with oil and gas and natural resources and I have to compare myself to countries who are doing extremely well with what they have. That is the shame and the incompetence of the PNM. So I think they should leave Mr. Harford alone, because the man just talking sense. And more citizens should be brave enough to talk the truth. I saw Senator Aye, I want her, she's not there now, but she could hear me probably in the tea room. I want to make sure to let her know that she will hear me clearly. I'm not coming to whisper like the Honorable Minister of Finance today. And I have listened and enjoyed debating that minister. Very intelligent, very sharp. His policies are poor. It is a failure as a Minister of Finance. But debating is very good. But today was his worst. You could see the fear. You could see the confusion. He knew that he had no argument to make. He knew that he could not justify what he came here to discuss. Imagine this PNM government come here. The most adjournment to a date to be determined. I've never heard that so much in any government in the history of Trinidad and Tobago. And I dare them to go and check. They always adjourning to a date to be announced because they have no plan, they have no legislative agenda, and we're not here to debate something to help the population that is fearful out there with criminality. No legislation to improve gender equality and create jobs. No legislation here for child protection, to improve the justice system so that cases could get going, increase the use. Nothing. We only come to the Senate dress up nice. When the PNM feel that there's an emergency, some international body is going to blacklist us, or when they want to increase money, say they ain't go spend it, and then the minister of works, the big minister, tell the truth, but he go get both later, right? You know, today I was lucky and privileged by fluke, because school finished early, and I picked up my daughter, and she got to drop me here to the Red House. First time she got to see it. And when we arrived, she needed to use the bathroom and said, well, come in, and the officers let her come in. And she came in, and looking at her face when she went into the ladies' bathroom, seeing it, I just saw like, she looked back and you could hear her go, wow. And I realized that coming here and being a parliamentarian, I'm quite jaded, because I come here and the passion and the realism and the belief that you would have had as a child growing up, to be in the Parliament and the Senate, to debate at the highest level and so on, that I have become despondent and jaded because of the poor contributions and really the government's incompetence and inability to move the country forward. But to see my daughter's face, and then she came out and I took her to the parliamentary chamber and took a picture, and she was so excited. I am saying to this government, lift your game, lift your level. My goodness, for ministers to be debating without researching, without information, without facts, without policy, just regurgitating things from a fake book that they have for the last 8 years that have been proven wrong, and they keep repeating it because they say if you repeat nonsense enough times, enough people would believe it. Do the work and get the country going. Our country is moving fast towards a failed state, and these PNM have their heads buried in the sand, and this must stop. But I empathize with these PNM ministers. As I listen to the Minister of Works and Transport trying to defend the Minister of Energy, I listened to the Senator Laura Lizama Leasing quoting a set of old statistics, false nonsense. I could not believe. Yes, but I empathize with them, because they all know that when they go to cabinet, they have no say. They all know that they are the haves and the have-nots in the government, and those who get told good morning, and those who policies get through, and those who can move forward. So lots of people who have brain in the PNM, they have to stay quiet because they don't get to travel all over the place. Look, even the Minister of Works and Transport, while defending the Minister of Energy, had to admit that he always outside the country. He always in Venezuela, but we ain't get a cent yet. We ain't get $1 yet. They have an election in July 28th. in Venezuela, but the leader of the opposition is debarred from going after getting 92% of the vote because Maduro say, the Supreme Court, his cousins say she cannot go in. And that's who the PNM is holding there too and holding close. So when that sham election occurs in July 28, and right now as we speak with Donald Trump, who was christened Tropical Trump by the Prime Minister of the PNM, when Tropical Trump, as our Prime Minister described, Donald Trump may win the presidency on November 5th, 2024, what's the position with Maduro? What's the position with all our eggs in one dragon gas basket, that the dragon cannot dance, that there is no money coming, that the discussion about an energy plan is that the minister is talking. They talk about Atlantic restructuring. Atlantic LNG is operating at 72% of its capacity. We had a percentage in Train 1 where they wasted and flitted away $233 million over a 22-month period to maintain it after the company said it's not going up, we're not using it again. They then maintained it for another 2 years, and we have not heard that bill yet. But then they come to negotiate, a Chinese partner gives up 5%. They go and they negotiate and get the 5% of the Chinese company, and Chinese companies, as far as I know, they look for profit motive like any other company. So for them to leave a 5% of a profitable industry is really ludicrous. So they left it because they know it was dead and dying because the PNM have put all our eggs in one basket. Gas production is low and declining, and we cannot attract investment for a 30-year period in order to create foreign direct investment. For the last 5 years, we've suffered negative foreign direct investment. Poor Minister of Trade and Industry. Negative foreign direct investment means people are taking their money out of Trinidad and Tobago, the beautiful country with land of milk and honey, and looking elsewhere. That is not good, but that is because of PNM, lack of planning and lack of management. There's no... Now the Minister of Finance, he said, we can't spend, we asking but we can't spend, we won't spend, so we are here. That's what the Minister of Finance said. Now the Minister of Works and Transport contradicted him, but the minister also went on to state why he's going to borrow. The PNM is going to borrow locally. But this is nothing new. The PNM has been borrowing locally in very questionable conditions, in a situation where the principle and the economies of scale that normally apply to democratic countries with corporate governance, which would state that, for example, a financial institution with a long track record and a huge balance sheet of investment and assets and so on, of hundreds of billions of dollars, would be able to provide funding at a competitive rate over and above a small company on Arapita Avenue. But since the PNM came into power in September 2015, and a certain super minister saw in his brother's company that was in receipt of zero public sector financing, zero as of September 2015, within 4 years, by September 2019, had public sector work to the tune of $4.2 billion at 4.6 to 7% interest. And the minister comes here, the PNM minister, to boast that we're going to go local, we're going to get local, and we're going to borrow. We're not really going to spend it because we can't appropriate it. Even everybody knows mid-year review could come and the minister could appropriate and change anything that he wants to. And the Minister of Works told the country that. But can we look forward to more certain companies with connections to the government getting contracts? How come mathematics changes with PNM? Because a big company supposed to be able to give you low interest rates because the economies of scale. But in Trinidad and Tobago, somehow a little small company could beat a huge financial institution and win tenders. That's interesting under the PNM. This reminds me, when we come here, and I must say, I read this motion. Now, with all due respect, this is a motion to give a government the ability to borrow $10 billion, not of their own money, not of their based on their private assets, not of their private investment, for the people and the citizens to pay back. Look, just the amount of words here is disrespectful to $10 billion. You know what this reminded me of? Back in 2013, when the West Indies Cricket Board wanted to thwart and damage the Trinidad and Tobago Red Force from the T20 competition. And they created something called CPL. Nobody knew what was CPL. There were rumors that it was some Sri Lankan businessman, Digicel had something. Nobody knew anything. And they came with a document like this, 18 pages, 16 words per page to the Minister of Sport. I was in that portfolio at that time, to ask for $6 million of taxpayers' money without any accountability, without any information, without any audited reports, without any plan, just a PowerPoint nonsense. And I told them, listen, you all had to be mad. Please come out of this office. This does not even qualify when people are asking for medals and trophies for their sports day in the community and so on. They do detailed reports, pictures, how many children, what was done, how much food, what food they bought, how much they paid the DJ. It's taxpayers' money. So for government to come and just increase a limit of $10 billion, and the wording of it says, whereas of the Development Loans Act that the government is authorized for the purpose of financing general development in Trinidad and Tobago, repayment of borrowings, and they could do it by any statutory authority or even the University of West Indies that has just announced the lowest enrollment in the last 18 years, by the way, under this government. And they say we could borrow further sums of money for the purposes stated in the said section, but the section says nothing. The only minister who said what he's going to do, when he's going to spend the money, and how he's going to spend it was the Honorable Minister of Works and Transport. And he might get fired by this evening. It then says the government is hereby authorized to borrow money externally or internally in a further sum or in further sums not exceeding in aggregate $10,000 million in currency of Trinidad and Tobago. When I read that, I said, well, I'm coming here today to listen to the Honorable Minister of Finance. I don't like to. I don't enjoy listening to him. In fact, I feel quite nauseous sometimes. But I said I'm going to listen because I want to hear what this Honorable Minister who swore on a Bible to represent the people of Trinidad and Tobago, what he wants, this $10 billion, what he wants to do with it, what's the reason, what's the payoff, what's the yield, what's the investment, what's the potential for growth in the youth. I was waiting to hear something. And for 42 and a half minutes, the minister spoke, and waffle turned to pancake, and he said absolutely nothing. He even told us some fantasy that he's come here just today to not really do anything. We won't spend it, we can't spend it, we can't appropriate it. So what we doing here, what all these public servants come out here for, why they cook corn soup and food downstairs, if we came here to approve something that is irrelevant. But the cat was let out of the bag by the Minister of Works and Transport. You see? And borrow for what? The Minister of Works and Transport had the audacity to talk about the mosquito crack. And nothing happened with the mosquito crack. He spent $233 million and the mosquito crack opened up wide and nearly swallow up car and truck together. Up to now, it's not fixed. But they come in to talk about the UNC and the UNC. Right? They come in to build, they're talking about investment and from what they want. What does the Minister of Works and Transport said, borrowing is not bad. That's true, borrowing is not bad. But P&M borrowing is bad. Because when P&M borrow, they build a Skinner Park and turn it from a football international field into a small sweat. They fix up the stadium for $90 million, and when you sit down on the chair, if you don't tilt left, you have to look so to see if the goal correct or if it's lopsided. They spend $185 million in Diego Martin for a road that only 8 cars is used per day. And all it does is enable you, if you're in Diego, you could go Westmall to shop quick. But if you die in a heart attack, you still have to go quite Mukurapo and come back to go West Shore. That's what the PNM does. 185 million of wastage. They build car park in San Fernando, 144 million. Not a car in park. They have to advertise to encourage people to park during Christmas, to tell them they go get an air-conditioned shuttle if they park there. They want to build a next park in Port of Spain. The two that they have empty and are cockroach. My first ex-wife gets stuck in the elevator for 16 minutes last week in that end. What tell she where you went and park in PNM thing for? Shouldn't have park there, right? They come now, they build a $148 million office, beautiful around the savannah. Gorgeous building. To administer the health sector where people, when it rain, you have the orderly lifting up the nurse while he pushing a wheelchair. It's a rat running down in Mount Hope Hospital. There are no Panadol. But one thing though, to administer the no Panadol, the office nice if you see it, oh gosh, you could go and take picture. That's PNM spending. So borrowing to waste money, borrowing to give contractors who are friendly. So Balize House could continue to go up miraculously by selling raffle tickets. That one has hurt here, President.
That one has gone across the line of imputing improper motives. So we don't do that. Again, just be careful.
To know that, you see, if I have a car coach or anything anymore, I want to be a raffle entrepreneur. That's all. I'm going to sell raffle tickets. That's lucrative.
And start up to you.
Yes.
Start up to
yes. And then the PNM says, and they talk, and the more they talk, it's amazing. The PNM have an ability to be failures and then talk like they're heroes. So it's like Usain Bolt run 9:59, the PNM run 12.2, but when they come in the mix zone, what we blow away Usain Bolt. You all didn't see that? We were fantastic. They came downstairs, they talk here. They say, look at this, we not going to the IMF because there's 6.2 billion US in the reserve requirement. We holding that 7 months cover, and they thump the desk. But you know, when Kamala was there, it was 12.26 billion, 14 months cover. The last time I checked my calendar, 14 months is longer than 7 months. The last time I checked my calculator, 12.26 billion Kamala is bigger than 5.8 billion. But this PNM they're boasting about the Heritage and Stabilization Fund at 6.2 billion US. Kamala left it at 7.6 billion US in 2015. It's supposed to grow by 1.2 to 1.3 billion US per year. 8 billion or 9 billion plus 7 should be 16.5. Them boasting about 6. They're 10 billion short and come to borrow an next 10. Borrowing by the PNM is bad. Borrowing by sensible, intelligent people who could run a country is good. They come now, the PNM say, no IMF. Now again, discord. Because the Minister of Finance said, the IMF came here and they did their checks and so on, and the economy is growing. Now amazing. When you look at the economy from 2015 September, $180 billion of TT GDP, they shrink the economy down to 120, 60 billion less. And it goes lower and lower. And then when it reaches rock bottom underground at 114 billion, and then it comes up to 118 billion, the PNM go and drink champagne in Balize House and say, great is the PNM. We increased our GDP. You're still 68 billion short of Kamala. That is jobs. That is money that you could spend. That is investment. That is safety. That is security. That is foreign direct investment that will be attracted because money brings investment. But when you decimate the sector, the Minister of Tourism, I'm glad he went close there to be right here to hear me because he's trying so hard. I'm so proud of him. He does videos of a vessel, a cruise ship. 750 people came 4 days ago, and he says, yes, man. And simultaneously, I watch in Antigua, Prime Minister, yes, here we have 6 vessels, average 3,443 per vessel, about 20,000 tourists a day. But my boys have to celebrate 750. Today, he just posted up about an hour ago, at 650 reach, right? But in Nepal, but I feel sorry for him, because when he bring the little bit of tourists, they get right there in the Brian Lara, and they don't want to come back because there's video going. So I empathize with him, because there's other ministers, but he can't say that, because them above me, they have different levels, right? So Rowley, the member for Diego Martin West and the Prime Minister says that if he does not implement the property tax, we will have to go to the IMF. Yet the Honorable Minister of Finance says, we're doing better, so we ain't have to go to the IMF, we're looking good. But here the problem. All the prescriptions they're talking about, even today's debate, the minister said certain Caribbean islands, they are in the throes of the IMF and they must do their prescriptions and they have no choice. But since 2017, 2018, this PNM has been implementing IMF prescriptions, just that they didn't have to borrow money because Kamala left money there. So they borrowed it from the children's future. They borrowed it from the Heritage and Stabilization Fund. They borrowed it from the reserve requirement. They borrowed it from local banks. They borrowed it because Kamala left the economy strong. But what are the prescriptions of IMF? Reduce subsidies. You reduce subsidies 5 times. No riot yet. You're coming out to raise the take rate. You want to charge more for water. You're reducing. Then what's the next thing you do? Lower the public service debt, the wage bill. So they put a freeze on contracts. They send home 300 IT workers from the Ministry of Education. They send home 400 that the Honorable Minister Tim Gopi Singh had as Minister of Education, social workers and guidance counselors across the board in the public sector. They didn't leave. They left just the ones on the establishment. But all the contract workers, they cut by 200% going away. Cut the wage bill. Then they also said, 8 years we didn't negotiate any labor deal with you all. Here you get 0001, 01001, like a binary unit from a maths class in Standard 4 in UE Primary School, this Minister of Finance, and tell the people take 4%. 4%, and then he comes here today with statistics that only a PNM could believe. I hear the PNM boasting that we are at 3%, 3.1% unemployment. Do you know what that equates to? Full employment level of unemployment. That means jobs. Anybody who wants a job, I can get a degree, you can get a job. Everybody aspires to that. So when we see 6,000 young people applying to work in a prison work is not an easy work. The prison is not a nice place. Not only if you get locked up, but to work there, no air condition, no ventilation, buckets of feces all over, danger, stabbings, fighting, overcrowded. But to see our children so desperate for work that they rush down there and they're thousands with a resume, but we at full employment level of employment. The SAPA children were climbing over banister like the PNM former Minister of Finance to get work on a cruise ship. When they announced that we could get something, over 9,000 young people with their resumes rushing for a Carnival Cruise Line job, which is nothing wrong with hard work, but that is real hard work. But I thought we have it nice. Full employment. I don't know where they get the statistics, but they repeat the nonsense that is illogical, untrue, and they believe it. But the people outside here, the people outside know it, feel it. Children cannot get any jobs out there. Right now we're suffering from brain injury. 90% of our intelligent children who go abroad to study are not coming back. Because of the PNM, they're running children. And then the Prime Minister says, after all the squandermania, after all the wastage, after spending $240 million at NGC for a pump that a year after they realized is the wrong pump, after all of that, their Honorable Prime Minister, who in 2009 said $100 property tax is too much because the people cannot afford it, it is an imposition, it should not be brought. Now we want to bring thousands and thousands of dollars of property tax. And the conditions here now in 2024 on every indice, worse, unemployment up, joblessness up, crime up, inflation up, food price inflation, medicine, fuel subsidy gone. People are suffering more than 2009. But now he wants to put property tax and he's willing to lose an election because of it. Well, I tell the people, make him lose. Let him blow the candle, make his wish come true. And then I heard, and the Minister of Finance sits down here so glib.
Senator, you have 5 more minutes.
Thank you. I wish I could have gotten 20 minutes from the Minister of Works and Transport. He wasted his time. It could have been used, put to better use. The Minister of Finance sits there, and he couldn't say anything when the member for Sawa Barataria read out that people are coming to value people's property. First and foremost, the concept that you are punishing success. You are punishing human beings who work hard, discipline themselves, study hard, save their money, spend frugally, and develop their homes for the comfort of themselves and their family. You coming now to stand up on the curbside. This Minister of Finance must explain that. He's not answering. How is it that there's a report that they were given instructions, a memo under the Ministry of Finance, at the Inland Revenue Office and so on, the Valuation Office, to stand up on the curbside and check and see what kind of pillar and steel and foundation and pool and so on to give people. That's why there are different evaluations across the board. Some people get 3 evaluations for one house. Others get...
Mr. President, Standing Order 46-1, there is likely to be a debate on this matter in the near future.
All right, so Senator, you have just about 4 more minutes left. Again, just keep tying it into what is before us by way of the motion and the fact that a motion has been moved to borrow a certain amount of money.
Thank you, sir. You know what? I will hold that fire because I know they're frightened. That debate coming, and I'll get full time for that. So that is good. I am guided willingly. You know, the PNM also said that the People's Partnership had budget deficits. Yes, we did. But those budget deficits, what did the People's Partnership, what did the UNC, what did Kamala Prasad-Bissessar spend that money on?
Yes, tell them.
143 wage negotiations and back pay for the people of the country. What did she spend it on? Laptops for the children and the people of the country. 106 schools for the children and the people of the country. The NPI vote in sport from 10 million to 140 million for the children of this country. 18,000 to 42,000 food cards on school feeding, from 48,000 meals to 76,000 meals, breakfast and lunches. She's spending money on the people. She kept the fuel subsidy for the people to go in the gas station and squeeze. Right now, every day you drive, you're seeing 4 or 5 cars on the road with man with Jalita bottle pouring gas in car. That's PNM, how people suffering. She spent the money on special needs grants. So yes, there was a deficit funding. She spent the money on investment, on Children Life Fund to save 153 children life. Do you know the PNM now? Anybody come to apply for Children Life Fund, they're running them ring around the rosy, letter after letter. Children are dying waiting to answer a letter from the query because they've been instructed, do not fund that. Over the last 8.5 years, only 23 children have received life-saving surgery from the PNM. Kamala Prasad-Bissessar, in 5 years and 4 months, saved 153 children's lives. That is where she spent the money. And when you and the PNM could come and talk about deficit spending, and the minister today admitted that in 2022 the deficit was the largest in the history of not only Trinidad and Tobago but the Caribbean at $17 billion, the truth drop out his mouth today. $17 billion in deficit in his budget. And then he's talking here today about global shocks and COVID-19 and pressures. All of those things should be dealt with in the budgetary process. You don't just put some numbers together and come and say, oh, look, a budget. You have to use your brain, analyze, check trends, look and see where there are gaps, where there are alternate revenue sources, and create a budget that makes sense. Peg your budget on somewhere that you can believe. But when this minister today said that he needed a crystal ball to know that the prices of oil and gas would have gone below where he pegged the budget. We didn't need no crystal ball. All you had to do was listen to Wade Mark, listen to Senator Roberts over on this side. When he budgeted at $91 per barrel and the price was up at $92 per barrel, we showed that the convention was that ministers of finance normally leave a gap for any fluctuations. You don't go right up to the price right there. That's irresponsible. He admitted today that he was irresponsible and tried to pretend that you need a crystal ball. You don't need a crystal ball. You need a brain. But they wanted to do, you know why they did that? Because in the bill, in the Heritage and Stabilization Fund, any amount of gas and oil above 10% has to be saved for the children. PNM is anti-children. They don't want to save for the future. And that's why they must go. This bill, we will not support. The PNM has wasted and squandered enough of taxpayers' money. We will not allow the minister to borrow, and he must tell the people what he's spending it on. The Minister of Works and Transport has already let the cat out of the bag. The PNM must go. We're not giving them any more money to corruptly dwindle away. Thank you.